How is it going, everyone? It's Calum here, and today we are going to be talking about Casper Spirit Dimensions on the GameCube. I'm covering a GameCube game here today, and the thing about this game is, I want to like it, but it has a major flaw with it that we'll get into. But this game is obviously based on the cartoon of the same name, Casper, the Friendly Ghost, and I like the idea of it, right? The style of game that it is, it's kind of like a third-person platformer, collectathon style game if you took the platforming out and you replaced it with flying. Because you're a ghost, right? So you're not going to be doing jumping and stuff like that. You're actually flying around as Casper, collecting different items and helping a bunch of other characters on your quest to save the spirit dimensions. You know, there's a big villain that is taking over all the spirit dimensions and he's enslaved all the spirits. And it's your goal in this game to play as Casper and help the spirits out however they can and free them from this big monster ghost character and the big bad evil in this game. And you're just flying around in a bunch of different areas. You have one main hub world that is like the actual haunted mansion, and then you have your friend with you, and she will actually like open portals. She's a witch and she can open portals and stuff, and she'll open portals to the new world whenever you finish one of the worlds that you travel into. And I like the different worlds. I actually think the different worlds and the different themes of them were pretty cool. You know, there's one that's like a carnival. There's one that's a medieval style area, which was pretty cool. You know, it's got like dragons even. Like there's like a dragon boss fight in that one, which is pretty cool. You have a factory, and then you have like this floating pirate ship area. There's some really cool worlds actually, and I enjoy a lot of it. You know, a lot of cool, just kind of fantastical elements in the world and in the game that I really enjoy. Now, the biggest problem with this game really is the controls, right? Because you're flying around as Casper, and they don't feel super great, right? It's not necessarily the flying that's bad, it's usually the combat. There's a lot of enemies in this game, and you're supposed to press the trigger to lock onto the enemies, but it doesn't want to really lock on half the time. Half the time it just does not want to lock on. And it makes it really hard to hit any of the enemies because of that. And it just starts feeling really clunky after a bit. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, if I'm being honest. So I want to like this game, but the combat just is so clunky that it really makes it hard to like, you know? And I would say the other problem with this game, other than the controls being kind of clunky, is that this game, especially during like the boss fights, is kind of vague about what you actually need to do. So you can be messing around for a while until you actually figure out what to do, because it doesn't really tell you what to, it will give you a kind of like a hint or something. Well, not always actually. There's actually a pirate boss fight where it didn't really tell me anything. I just had to figure it out as I went. But it's too vague. It's too vague on the boss fights, and I think that they should have been a little bit more clear about what to do to defeat the bosses. You know, there's even one ability that I didn't even know that I had. I don't know if it ever really even explained it to me, or maybe it was just one screen and I just passed it and missed it. But Casper can break through walls if you are using his dash ability. He can break right through walls. But apparently he can also send objects back at enemies, also by bursting at, using that burst of speed. He can just knock stuff back at enemies. And I don't know if that was ever explained in the game. Maybe it was explained once and I missed it or something. But I don't know. That comes in handy for a boss fight later on. You have to know that ability, and I did not know it. So it made that boss fight really difficult for the first few, attempts, so I will say that. However, I will say, I do like the boss fights in this game, right? I think the boss fights are cool, and I like the idea of them. I like the dragon boss fight. I think that's really cool. I like that Casper has, a few different types of, powers he can use. He has an ice ability, he has a regular ghost ability, and then he has this fire ability, and you can pick up the ice and the fire abilities, and you always have Casper's just regular ghosts, force spirit blast type thing. So you always have that one, but the other ones you actually have to pick up upgrades for and pick up ammunition for, I guess you'd call it. But you pick it up, and then you actually, for some boss fights, you have to use those specific types of damage on the enemy, right? So when you're doing the dragon boss fight, there's an ice one that pops up. It's an ice dragon head that pops up out of the lava, and you have to use the fire to damage it. there's a fire one that pops up, you have to use ice to damage it. And I just like that stuff. I thought that was pretty clever, and I like the idea of using different ammunitions to defeat the bosses like that. I thought that was kind of cool. And even to solve some of the puzzles in this game, like there's one where you're breaking runes and stuff. To break the runes, you even have to use the correct type of ammo on the rune. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. So I like all of that stuff. It has some neat ideas. And overall, the exploration is pretty fun, and I love the level design. The level design is really good. If it wasn't for the clunky controls, I would say that this is a game that you should definitely try out and pick up, but the clunky controls keep me from saying that, because not everyone's going to want to put up with it. The controls are really, really rough. I can't lie about that. If there was no combat, then yeah, the controls wouldn't be as rough, but the combat kind of is what makes this game fun. Without the combat, you just would have a game where you're just flying around as Casper. You need the combat, so the only way they could fix this is if they actually fixed the controls when they were making it. Unfortunately, the controls just are not up to speed. They're just not great. In this game, you do have these little gems that you can pick up, and I believe if you pick up 100 of them, you get an extra life, but it doesn't really display that you get an extra life very well. Like, I just kind of had to press the pause button to see if it was doing it, and I believe that's how that worked. Because, it would never pop on the screen like, oh, you got an extra life. I would just kind of, assume after I got 100, I get an extra life, and I would go to my main menu, my count would be higher, so I was just like, well, I guess I got another one. But this game doesn't make a big deal about collecting things, I will say, but I do enjoy collecting the crystals, and I enjoy going around and helping these other characters, just collect whatever they need. There's like a Joker type character who wants you to collect the gold that he lost, so you go and you defeat a bunch of thieves and get his gold back. You go and you help a knight find all his armor pieces and stuff like that, and all of that stuff was really fun. I didn't have any issue with any of that. I even like some of the ones where it's just like go defeat enemies and pick up what they drop. That stuff was okay too. So all that stuff had no problem with. Thought that stuff was just fine. And overall, I didn't mind that. Now, the only other major negative I will say in this game is the voice acting. The voice acting is really, really rough. And I don't actually think it's the voice acting itself. It's the mics they used. For some reason, they used some just really, really low-quality mics when they made this game, and it's just not great sounding. I'll let you hear a clip of it now.
World.
We will stop you!
With this little ghost? I don't think so. Farewell, witch. When next we meet, it will not be on such pleasant terms. My power grows by the day, and my army will be ready soon. The mortal world will be mine.
Casper, we must stop Kibosh before he gains too much power. It's not too late. Not yet. We still have a chance. But how can I help? I'm such a small ghost.
Now, Casper does have an ethereal form in this game where he can basically go through objects. However, I will say it's kind of weird because it doesn't let you go through all objects. And even it lets you go through grates and stuff, right? But it doesn't let you go through all things that are grates. So it's only specific grates that you can go through. So I don't really understand that. For example, there's bird cages in one of the boss fights, and I think it's the final boss fight against Kibosh. There's bird cages, and I'm just oh, I could probably use this ethereal form to go through that, and you can't. And I'm just why not? why would I not be able to do that? I don't know. So it's just kind of odd that they didn't let you use your ethereal form to go through everything that has that looks like you'd be able to go through it, but whatever. I guess it is what it is, not a huge deal. And again, the boss fight, the very final boss fight, does also tell you need to pick up energy. And that was very vague, because you're picking up little energy things this entire game. You find these little green energy balls to fill up that ethereal space that you have on your HUD. And if it tells you to pick up energy, well, these things are called ethereal energy spheres. So that's what I'm going to assume you mean when you tell me to go pick it up. But no, in the very final level, when they say go chase down and pick up the energy, they're talking about just random blue flying lights that are going around in the sky. I'm just I thought that was just part of the environment. I didn't know you could pick that up. So it was super vague on the final boss fight as well. So I don't really get why they were so... I don't know. I just feel like they didn't explain things very well. especially when you're already picking up a bunch of different items and then you introduce a new feature, a new mechanic at the very end of the game. It's just like, okay, what are you guys doing here? I feel like you're just throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks. But overall, I still enjoyed my time with this game, believe it or not. I actually don't think this game is awful. I just wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend this to someone who is not a fan of these, kind of licensed video games. I like it because I do like licensed video games. I like the idea of a 3D platformer where you're flying instead of doing the regular platforming. I think that's kind of cool. And I do like the levels and the level designs and the graphics of this game. I like all of that stuff. I think they actually did a pretty darn good job with all that stuff. And unfortunately, it's just clunky and very vague. And that's really what brings this game down. But I think if you find this game for under $10, maybe pick it up. If you find it at a flea market or something, maybe give it a shot. But I wouldn't spend a lot on this game. I paid $20 for this game, and I gotta be honest, I wouldn't do it again. I would not spend $20 on this game again. I'm happy to have it in my collection now, and now that I have it in my collection, I'm keeping it. I do enjoy the game, and I could definitely see me going back and replaying it at some point. And replaying this game, honestly, would probably be better than playing it the first time, because all that vagueness is gone. Now I know what to do, now I know how to pick things up, now I know what to look for. So, honestly, a replay of this game is probably better than the first go-around. But, yeah, this is a game that does have a permanent space in my collection, because I do enjoy it. But there's no way in good faith I can recommend other people try this game out. But, you know what? It was fun for Halloween, and it was a different type of game for Halloween, so I think that was at least pretty cool, and it was nice to be able to talk about this game. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button down below. If you played this game, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I heard a lot of people, I read a lot of comments from other people on other videos being like, this game used to scare the crap out of me as a kid, and I thought that was kind of funny. So let me know, did this game scare you when you were a kid? I like Casper. He doesn't really scare me, so I think Casper's just a cute ghost. So there we go. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.